Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. I had the honor this week of interviewing Michael McCormick. Michael is a former superintendent, but he failed at retirement and is now serving as a superintendent in residence for a company called Avid. And all of that matters because he has dedicated his entire life to making people better. And I think we could all learn a lesson or two from someone like that. So here's why Mike seemed like the perfect guest to me. Mike and I were at an all staff retreat recently, and we had a chance to do a walk and talk. And during that walk and talk, I learned what an authentic human Mike is. He is the kind of human that you just want to keep talking to because he's so good at asking questions and making you feel seen. And that's the kind of leader he is too. And what I think is cool about great leaders like Mike is, oh, remember the commercial? I want to be like Mike. Yeah, like that. And yes, I just dated myself, but that's okay. So, what I appreciated though was his willingness to listen. And as leaders, we have to listen. We have to know our people. We have to be thoughtful about getting better with who we are and what we're choosing to see in others. So I have a page full of notes, but a couple things that I wanted to bring to mind is that he talked about being a latchkey kid. For those of you that are too young to know what that means, there was a time where children would come home with a key around their neck, and that's how they would let themselves into an empty house, even as young as 5 years old. Which is what he talked about it being, right? But what he learned from his not so great examples as a child, of alcoholic father and absent parents, was that there are cues that you can latch onto to people's behaviors, and you can start to predict patterns. And I think all of us as great leaders need to recognize that people show us what they need and who they are over time. And over time, you see the layers peel back and you learn the true thinking of people versus what they want you to see. It's really, really hard to hide all the time. And so believe people when they show you who they are and help them be the best versions of themselves. As great leaders, we've got to be thoughtful about helping people reach their full potential. I know that's cliche and whatever, but it's true. We need people to be given the opportunity to become the best versions of themselves and to grow into that version, whatever it might be. So maybe it's in the workplace and you are trusting a new employee with a big project that's coming up and giving them kudos, but also giving them guidance so that they can become the best version of themselves in that space. But also setting them up for success, right? You don't want to put somebody in charge of a project that isn't within their wheelhouse, that doesn't shine light on their talents, that causes them to be completely out of their comfort zone start to finish. It's okay to push them out of their comfort zone a little, but it shouldn't be something that is so far beyond their scope of what they're good at that it doesn't belong in their space. That means that you have to know your people. You all hear me say this all the time, but it's so true. If we don't know our people, we cannot make them good at what they do. We don't even know what they're good at. So, how could we possibly let them shine in that space? So, I would recommend you know your people. The other thing that I appreciated about our friend Mike is that he talked about the importance of vulnerability and becoming your best self and being your authentic self means that you have to be vulnerable. I've probably learned this more than anything in the last couple years is that vulnerability is actually a sign of courage. And I'm stealing that straight from Brene Brown. So shout out Brene. It is so important that we recognize that when we are vulnerable, we are showing people around us that we're courageous. I would grew up in a generation where it was not cool to be vulnerable. As a matter of fact, you just didn't. You sucked it up and you figured it out and you hid. And I don't think that's healthy. I think it's much healthier to say, hey, I need some help here. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea how to do X, Y, or Z. That kind of vulnerability shows courage. So, I don't know what you're going to take away from today. It could be any number of things, but I just want to encourage you that you are not in this alone. So, I do work with organizations in a number of different ways. Some of the biggest and most beneficial to all parties involved ways is helping people understand who they are so that they can show up as that authentic self and allow others to do the same. I do that through training around psychological safety. I am certified in psychological safety and can definitely help organizations figure that out. But I also work one on one with leaders to figure out how they can make their interactions safe, logical, fun, and memorable. That comes from my book, Learning Can Stick. And in it, we talk about the importance of relationships if you want people to remember what you said. People don't latch on to you in any way if you don't make it safe, logical, fun, and memorable. So, speaking of that book, exciting news. It is now available on Audible. So, if you don't mind listening to my voice, you can hear me read that book via Audible. And what you'll get are some bonus pieces that will help literally change the way that you interact with humans. I have been doing this for a long time. I mean, well, I guess all 47 of my years, but 25 of them professionally. And what I have learned in those 25 years is kind of summed up in that book. So you definitely might want to go grab your Audible version. If you're listening to a podcast, you probably like to listen to things maybe in the car or on a run or whatever. Go ahead. I think that I can be pretty entertaining in that space and give you some nuggets of wisdom that you can use right away. So I don't know what you're taking with you today, but I do know that it is something that will give you a little bit of positivity because that's what productive joy is all about. And I just want to remind you that no matter what's going on in your world, you have the ability to figure out how to turn fun into action.